Alright, what's going on, guys? Heavyarms here. A lot of you guys know me or played against me or played with me in the past or whatever on Fault, or know me from the community. Basically, I wanted to make a video to talk about, and I'm using this gorgeous mini map here. This is a little bit of an older mini map. It's still got the 3 white camps on the red side. Not really that important because I'm not going to be talking about like jungle pathing or anything today. But I wanted to make this video because, honestly, because shit has been getting on my nerves. And I want to be able to help people understand when they should be rotating, in what situations, and how they should react, and blah blah blah. So I kind of wanted to break down timers and rotations, etc. And if you're a really new player, obviously feel free to watch this, but you probably won't understand. This is a little bit more of an advanced video. For people that are already decent at the game, that are trying to become better. So I don't know if I'm going to do a series of these or call this one thing or another. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this here marker to mark things on the map. The mini map was the easiest way that I could illustrate what I'm going to be talking about. All of you should be able to see this in the top right corner of your game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the dawn side as like our side of the map. Just because this is the way the mini-map's going to look when you spawn in the game, no matter what side you're on, like our blue, our red, their blue, etc., raptors, or prime. These big circles on the mini-map are towers, and if you don't know that, then this is probably not the video for you. So I guess I'm going to kick it off. I already recorded this, and then like an idiot with no sound. So I kind of have gone through like a big lengthy explanation. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit shorter. But I wanted to start with what you should be looking for when you spawn. Like when your feet touch the ground at this spawn fountain, what you should be looking for on the map. Like your eyes should automatically immediately go to the lanes and who is pushing or being pushed. Where are your teammates on the map? Are you being pushed mid? Are you pushing off lane? Those are things to immediately look for. That way you kind of know like how to react and where to go. And honestly, if you're dead and you didn't just back, then you probably were watching some sort of spectator camera on one of your teammates. In my opinion, you should automatically know where you're going to be walking to or going as soon as your feet touch the ground, as soon as you respawn, or as soon as you back. And buy whatever, you should automatically know where you need to go. So keep an eye on the lanes. Try to have a good idea of who's pushing and who's being pushed. Objective timers is a really important thing for me. So whether that's Raptors or Prime, or your jungle buffs, a lot of people say, oh, well, the jungler should keep track of all that. Yeah, okay. But a lot of people have a lot going. Like everyone on the team has a lot going on for the most part. Except for maybe you offlaners out there. You guys are just chilling in your offlane. But all jokes aside, everybody's got a lot they're watching. They're trying to ward. There's a lot going on. There's a ping system in the game. Use it. That's what it's for. Ping to attack raptors. Ping to that you're on the way. All that stuff is super useful. You can ping, be careful. You can ping, there's an enemy missing. Use all that shit. And also communicate with your team when buffs are spawning. Even if you think your jungler sees it. There's times where people think I see things, and a lot of times I do. I try to be pretty aware of what's going on the map. Although, no one's perfect, and everybody misses something. So just make sure to communicate it. Make sure to communicate that you're rotating, or you're trying to come get a kill, whatever it may be. So at 8 minutes in the game, the Raptor spawns. You should know this by now. And honestly, everybody should be making a rotation for the Raptor. Other than maybe the offlaner, and honestly, I like to see a shift happen. So when the Raptor is going to spawn around 8 minutes, the offlaner, unless you're being pushed or you're in a lot of trouble and you're trying to like fight for your life, you should automatically be rotating through our jungle at least to the mid lane. Okay, because if you have our team, if our duo lane's rotated, if our jungler is rotated, mid lane's obviously right here. if all of them are rotating for this Raptor take, you need to be rotating for it, but at least be rotating to the mid lane, okay? Even if you think, oh, they're going to get it before I get there, especially late in the game, like maybe they'll be able to take it and they won't even need me, okay? Well, the reason you should be close by if you're in an okay position in your off lane is because if the enemy team, if we have to, maybe we have to fight for it. Maybe they'll come in and try to fight us in the pit in the middle of us taking the Raptor, or maybe even if you're in the mid lane trying to hold, if we take the Raptor and they're coming in to try and counter to try to get some cleanup kills, me and my support may get out. The jungler may, or I guess me and my support may get out, and the mid laner and the jungler may be trying to leave or trying to get back to a safe place in the mid lane or the duo lane. Okay, so if they're going to try to I guess start a fight, then it's good that you're here, you're close by, and that always five versus 4 is always better than 4 versus 4. Like, man advantage is super important in this game, and it's good that you rotate. And obviously everybody knows now that the Raptor doesn't give you as much. I guess like it's changed since there was the 3 small Raptors. Now it's the 1 big one. You don't get a bunch of gold. You get everyone on the team gets 2 favor, even if you're in the Raptor pit or not, and some experience locally, I believe. So even though you don't see like an immediate the immediate benefit of favor, I've had multiple games where the team that gets the Raptor the most is usually much harder to kill because they're getting more experience. The favor does add up. It's not super important to get the first one like it used to be. Like getting the first set of 3 Raptors used to be like incredibly important for gold and things like that. But because they were almost a kill a piece worth of gold, it's not really like that anymore. But still important to take, especially multiple times throughout the game. The team with more favor is usually tougher to kill and does more damage. And then obviously Prime buff spawns. I'm going to erase some of this. Obviously the Prime buff spawns at 20 minutes into the game. You should also know that if you've been playing for a while. Around 19 and a half minutes, you should be warding this. Whether it's the offlaner coming to ward, the mid laner, the jungler, you guys need to have wards on this. I wouldn't worry so much about ratting it, because when we go to take the Orb Prime, whenever that might be, we can drop some rads on it and clear the wards. I mean, obviously, if you have nothing to do, it's not going to hurt. The rads are free. But again, you need to be 20 minutes and on. They could be taking the Orb Prime at any time, and it's an extremely important objective. It's good that you have vision on it and are aware of where the enemy team is on the map, because the earlier they take the Orb Prime, the harder it is to going to be able to like stop their push, right? Because especially if they're ahead and you're behind, you're not as strong. They're going to get orb minions. They're going to have orb themselves. Much harder to defend the push earlier on in the game. So please, you guys got to keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the timers. If you see that they're coming up, like say Orb or Raptor's coming up and no one's pinged it yet, be the person to do that. You always would rather ping too many times than not ping enough, or communicate too much than not enough. So that's super important. And then obviously when you spawn, take a look at your jungle buffs. The jungler may be doing something else, and his jungle buffs may be up. Try to keep like a mental note of when their jungle buffs are going to be up, just in case, say you're the carry and support and you're pushing their lane and you get to their T2 and they haven't even spawned yet, and you really don't have the minions or the strength to take the T2 yet. Rotate in their jungle, try to take that red buff, try to take some of the white camps. Part of winning this game is starving the enemy team as much as possible, honestly. You want to, I guess, deal a blow to their morale as often as you can. Starve them of experience, of gold, and just be absolutely surgical. If that's what everybody wants to do, that's the point you want to get to be better. So also, I guess it's a big deal to me, but when you spawn, the last thing is, on top of like looking at the minimap and seeing what's going on with the lanes and the bigger buffs and the jungle buffs, buy wards. Like, damn, like they're 100 gold. Like, I understand that everybody gets a trinket, right? And whether you want to get a free rad or a free ward or whatever, those are useful, obviously. But the sentry wards are there for a reason, and they only cost 100 gold. Like, buy the fucking wards. It's not a lot of money. You'll get the 100 gold back. I don't know how many times like there will be no wards on the map because the enemy team will be ratting, and then like no one's bought sentries. Like, every time you go back to the spawn, whether you're backing or you die or whatever, and you have an extra 100 gold, shit, if you have 200, buy 2. always be buying wards. Wards win games. I can't say this enough. In every MOBA, it's like that. It stays true in this. Super important. Even if you say, oh, well, they can see the sentry and just destroy it. Okay, well, them seeing it and popping it, at least you get to see that they're there. The vision and the knowledge you get from even them destroying your ward is worth it. I really can't say that enough. So again, I talked a little bit about the Raptor rotations. That's very important. But what's something I want to say when it comes to any objective, especially the Raptor towards the early game, if you, for example, are the mid laner and you're pushing up or whatever, and you're trying to, say you have a freeze right here, and you're trying to get some farm, you got a big freeze in front of your tower, yet you know the Raptor's coming up, okay? No matter what lane you're in, I'm just using mid as an example, if you got a freeze or you're trying to farm, push the lane out. Even if it's right before 8 minutes, or if your teammates have pinged that they're coming for the Raptor, this is not as important towards late game and towards the time where you're going to take Orb Prime, mid to late game, but early game, put pressure on the map. Like clear the waves, allow your minions to get up towards their towers here, whatever lane you're in. The more pressure they have, the more pressure they have on them, the harder it's going to be for them to contest, whether that's Raptor, whether that's a team fight, whether that's a tower or Prime, all that stuff. Pressure is super important. Know when these things are going to spawn, and then put pressure on these areas. And that way you can rotate, and it's not a problem. You're not worried about rotating because you've got minions in your tower. You've got to defend your tower. Like, that should never be a thing. You know what I mean? Just clear the wave and get ready for the rotation. If we're in duo lane and we're coming up here, jungler's on the way, we've pinged it. Off laner needs to be rotating. Mid needs to be clearing their wave and rotating into the prime pit as well. So, or the Raptor pit. I'm sorry. And that kind of comes down to, like, talking about pushing, like getting rid of your freeze and pushing lanes. It kind of is like a segue into my next point, which is when to push lanes. Say, for example, I got a lot of erasing to do. Okay. There's probably a better system and a better way to do this, but it is what it is. We're in Paint 3D. So, be cognizant of, like, what is worth it and when it's just better to push your lane, right? So, say your team is in the off lane, and there's two of your teammates here, and they get jumped by 4 people. Okay, if they're getting attacked by 4 people in the off lane, and you're all the way over here, and you're in the carry support lane, or you're in the mid lane's kind of different because you can kind of easily rotate to places. But if you're with the carry and support, for example, and you're a mid laner and you're over here, or you're in a lane, if you're in a spot further away, the 2 of your teammates over here that gets jumped by these 4 people are probably going to die, or they're going to get away. You're not going to have time to rotate all the way across the map unless you're a Muriel or a Kalari with the global ultimate and make any kind of difference at all. Or a Murdoch with a snipe or whatever. So go ahead and try and offset, like, if they're going to get these 2 kills, offset that by trying to take a tower, trying to take a T2. The entire game is about balancing, like making sure you don't get that far out of balance with the other team and trying to swing things in your favor. So instead of wasting your time rotating all the way over there, your teammates still get away and or die, and you rotate all the way over and either die or make no difference at all. Take some objectives. Try to push lanes if your team's in a fight or whatever. Also, instead of trying to get to a fight all the way over here, if you're just coming out of the base, if your lane's getting pushed into the T2 or mid lane's getting pushed into the inhibitor, like, this will have to wait, okay? Because these T2s and inhibitors are extremely important. More important than a team fight that your team is either going to die in or maybe get away from. So try your best to clear these areas out. The game is a lot harder when you have an inhibitor down or even when you have a T2 down. It just is. T1s fall fairly early. T1s really aren't that important. T2s, kind of important. Inhibitors, very important. You don't want to lose those, because if you do, obviously the team spawns super minions, and it makes your life a whole hell of a lot harder. So I guess the next thing I wanted to kind of go into is Orb Prime and when it spawns, when it's good to rotate, etc. When to actually fight the Prime. So at 20 minutes, the orb prime is going to spawn. I'm terrible at making circles with this mouse, but orb prime spawns at 20 minutes. Like I said, you should already have wards on it. It's usually never smart to take an orb prime fight when all 5 people on your team are up and all 5 people on their team are up, unless if they have their fed character or their support and duo or their duo lane over here, like on the opposite side of wherever, like even if you spin the map around, like if they're on the opposite side of the prime, and like that means that they're gonna have 2 people that are gonna have to try to walk all the way over there to contest it. Like from 20 minutes on, your team should constantly be ready to rotate here, whether you're trying to clean up kills here, keep a team from taking it, take it yourself. Like you should always be thinking about prime after 20 minutes into the game. So if you see enemies that are over here, if they're fed characters or their duo at least are over here that maybe they don't have a global ultimate, you guys should automatically be trying to make a play for this prime because they're going to have to walk all the way here. Even if they have a teammates in their jungle, maybe one in their mid lane, if they try to come in and stomp you, you can just turn and kill those 3 people, and then those 2 are not going to be able to fight you. So they're not even going to bother, and then you're going to be able to take prime. So you either take prime because they're not going to be able to rotate in time, or you start to take prime, turn on their 3 players that try to stop you. That's a 5v3. That's a win all day long unless you're super behind. And then those 2 won't be able to make it there in time or clean up. So you'll have a good prime take and things like that. Otherwise, say you're trying to take prime and you're not sure where everybody is. All 5 of your teammates are up and you're looking for a pick. Okay, so if they push down the off lane here, and say they may have someone in their jungle, their duo lane may be in this jungle or kind of in mid lane. If there's only one person in this lane and you're looking for a pick, kill that person. Like unless your team is all the way over here on this side of the map, I guess I could change colors. Unless your team is all the way over here and they have a person pushing their off lane, there's your pick right there. Kill that person, take your pick. It's now a 5v4 for the prime. You can either fake prime or take it and continue on throughout the game. More than likely, while this person's getting fought, their jungler is going to rotate over and try to help. And maybe you get 2 picks. It's still a 5v2, 4v2. So 2 picks are better than 1. And then you can go to take prime and do your thing. So those are situations where it's probably ideal to take prime. You usually don't want to, especially if you have no wards on the map, you don't want to try to take it when there's 5 of them up, 5 of you up. Like, it's too dangerous in my opinion, especially against good players. If you're on even footing, like if you're super fed, it's one thing, but if you're not really ahead, I don't typically love taking a prime fight when 5 of us are up, 5 of them are up, just the better teams get, because more than likely, even if you win the team fight, some of your players are going to have died, and then also you're probably going to be weak, whoever's left standing, and then you can't take the prime anyway. So yeah, you may win a team fight. It's a super risky team fight to take, especially around the prime pit. Because if they wipe you, say they wipe you easily, they make a really good play, they take your damage out really early, then they can take prime. It's just too dangerous. So set up prime nicely, and look for opportunities to take it, smart opportunities, and go from there. Once you do have prime, it's important to siege the right way, and this is like part of I guess one of the major reasons I made this video. Is because I don't know how many times I have taken the prime buff. Okay, we take the prime. Say our middle lane and our left lane, our middle lane or off lane are pushing. Okay, if you do not have 4,000 gold and haven't bought in an hour, you don't go back to base. If you're weak, it's fine because you're going to get the orb regen. Okay, not only are your minions going to have orb buff, you're going to have an orb buff. Your team sieging, especially early in the game, is a great opportunity to just go ahead and close it out. Like, I should never see a jungler take prime and then go back in his jungle to farm. Or go into their jungle to farm. Like, I want to choke you. Don't do that. Everybody should be teaming up to siege the base and win the game. Like, if these 2 lanes are pushing, for example, or at least mid is pushing, say off lane is in the middle and it's kind of frozen. Say left lane or duo lane or whatever is in the middle and it's kind of frozen. Unless you are being pushed into your base, you push one lane as a group and siege them, okay? Because at the very least you get a T2. If you take Orb Prime and don't get a T2, you fucking fail, okay? It's a failure of a take. But if you push up and you can take a T2 and as a group can take an inhibitor, that's major. Because especially right after you take Prime, if you just go right up here and take it, then more than likely you're going to have super minions spawning on top of having prime buff, and that's going to be really, really hard for them to stop. Unless they're way ahead of you, if you're on even footing or if they're behind, that's basically going to be game, because then you're going to be able to maybe get a pick or two here, play around the inhibitor being down, play around the fact that you have orb. As long as you're hitting your CC and hitting your abilities, you're more than likely going to pick one or two people, and then those three people that are left on their team are probably not going to be able to defend that base, especially from you and the orb minions and the super minions from the inhibitor. You get what I'm saying? So there's very few times where you should be splitting off to push all three lanes. Like, even if you're getting pushed in on, say, duo lane, if these two lanes are pushed and you have prime, ignore this. It will bounce, or it definitely won't be able to do as much damage that you will be able to do here, or in the mid, at least. What I like to do typically when I take orb prime, say, if it's late in the game, and your offlaner is doing fairly well, or at least is like a Greystone that can kind of be an annoying decoy, you could maybe have 3 or 4 people push up the mid lane to try to take the inhibitor, and then have him split off, or her split off, and try to take a side lane. Okay, because in that situation, especially late in the game, they're going to have to decide what they want to defend more. And if your offlaner is fed, or whoever is pushing that side lane is fed, then they may have to take 2 people, maybe 3 people over here to help defend this inhibitor. Okay, so then that just gives you more of an opening to get 1, to maybe get 2, or to at least get a couple of picks and make your life a hell of a lot easier. Because if they send people to protect the offlane inhibitor, and you've got mid lane inhibitor with maybe 2 defenders on it, and you kill both of them, now they've got to defend 2 inhibitors with 3 people instead of 5. You see what I'm saying? So there's so much opportunity you have with taking the prime pit if you work together. It kills me, some of the stuff I see. Communicate, stick with your team, know when to push. Those are all such major things that I want to convey here. My last thing is probably when to retreat from sieging. If you get prime and say you're playing against a good team, and you've pushed all the way up here, and you've taken their T2, and they're a good team, and they've defended really well, so they have a good comp in order to even defend that well, you lose 2 people, for example. And now you're trying to push inhibitor with most of them up. You've got 3 people with prime, maybe a little weak, maybe not. Just go on a retreat. You can take the T2 as a win, or take the inhib as a win. You don't necessarily have to push the base if all 5 of them are like there and ready to stop you. You don't want to wipe for something like that. You can take the win, back off, and at that point you want to say, okay, we're done sieging for right now. We've taken the prime buff. That was a good push. We did what we could. We got a couple of picks. We're fairly ahead, and we haven't spent yet maybe from taking prime. So when you're retreating, there's a couple of things you should be looking for, right? You should be looking for their red buff, their blue buff, any of their camps. You know what I mean? Take those, because as soon as they get done pushing and defending, whether it's their base or their inhibitor, they're going to say, okay, let me get to a safe place and let me try to walk into the jungle and catch back up. They're going to try to get buffs. They're going to try to get any kind of gold and experience they can to catch back up in the game, right? So this goes back to starving them of all experience and gold as much as you can. You want to go ahead and try to starve their jungle. Take that shit from them. Take the Raptor, especially if it's up. If you've taken Prime, more than likely, even if you took Raptor, took Prime, and then started the siege, if you're retreating from a siege, Raptor is going to be coming back up, and you can use that favor. Because they're going to be so pushed in that they're going to have to take time to sit there and to defend and to blah, blah, blah. You'll have time to take their jungle or take a Raptor, maybe take your jungle, push a lane, then back, okay? That way you have the most gold, the most experience, and you're ready for a reset on the map. You're ready for the next orb to spawn. You're ready to take the next orb, try to contest it, get another pick. You're that much stronger and have that much better items to go forward into the rest of the map. So that's pretty much, like, I know that was kind of a super fast, high-level breakdown of what I should be seeing from my team in a game. Being a carry is really difficult, and it's even more difficult when your team isn't working together or not like chain CCing people. So I expect a lot from my junglers and my mid laners. For example, like with mid, I understand like sometimes an off lane can't rotate. I don't really think that your T1 in off lane is important enough for you not to rotate in things. Like the T1's going to fall anyway, more than likely in the game, so it's not that big of a deal. Mid lane is kind of interesting because a mid laner has a huge responsibility. Because like a jungler that's going to be rotating through the map constantly, you have easy access to the duo lane, to the off lane, to the prime pit, to the raptor. You should be able to rotate better than anybody. And usually a mid laner, whether it's a Belica or a Gideon, like can have a major impact on team fight, on taking objective, anything like that. So I look for a lot in my mid laners and my junglers um, over the course of the game, and I think the game is it's just so easy. Like it's so much easier when people are doing what they're supposed to do, taking things at the right time, they're rotating properly, they're together and ready to take objectives when they spawn. Most people can't handle that. Like unless you're playing another good team of 5. I mean, hell, if you're just matchmaking, most people you matchmake into are not going to be able to handle that type of organization, and they're not going to be as on their game. So if you come into every match like really knowing what you have to do, knowing how much CS you should have by 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in, what type of items you should have as you go through the game, and like where at those timestamps you should have certain items. I may break that down in a separate video. I don't know how many more of these I'm going to make, if I'm going to make any more. But I just needed to talk about this today because it's been driving me crazy. There are so many games where we've been ahead, where people won't group, and then all you're doing now with the new bounty system in the game, every time you miss an opportunity to group and take an objective or group and push for the win, you're just giving them more opportunity to get to farm and to get more experience and to come back on you. You have to be surgical to win, especially against good people. Against good players, good teams, they're not going to let you get away with bullshit. Like, you have to be the ones to be so tight that you're going to find the holes in their armor um, and punish them for not being at objectives on time, for not taking their red when it spawns, for not rotating to the lanes properly. All this kind of stuff is what I want to help people learn and understand because that's how the game is going to grow. And then obviously it's going to make mine and your lives a lot easier when you don't have players that are doing dumb shit on your team. So anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you learned something. I obviously stream. It's not super consistent, but it's twitch.tv/heavyarmst1. I might put it in the bio here or the description of this video. Feel free to like and subscribe. I don't know how much I'm going to be uploading. It just kind of depends on the future. I'm looking forward to the tournaments that are going to be happening whenever those start up, and getting into that competitive grind again. It's going to be great, and I want to help set you guys and kind of help you put your best foot forward as you try to get better at this game and all of that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, this is more of me venting than anything. So if you have any concerns or you have like a dissenting opinion, you're probably wrong. But all jokes aside, drop them in the description. I guess the comment section. I kind of want to see what you guys think about all of this, and we can go from there. So anyway, I'm super thirsty. I need to get some water, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.